In this video, we are talking about some breaking news. There is a new villainous show coming to Disney's Hollywood Studios, replacing that Lightning McQueen show. Interesting news story, but it might have some ramifications in regards to where they put Monstropolis. We're going to talk about it, break it down up next on OG 55. Let's get it. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG 55. I got the Italiano, as always, with me. We're trying to record and make as much content as we can before the Italiano goes on a cruise sandwich, as he calls it. So, George, it's good to have you while we still have you. Well, that sounded really morbid. George is not dying, I promise. He is not dying. He's just going on a cruise. All right, George.
That was awesome. Glad to be here while I still can. And but yeah, no, I'm very excited for my cruise sandwich intertwined with Walt Disney World. And but always I'm gonna at the time that I'm absent, I am gonna miss doing these recordings. It just became like a daily routine for us that, it's, we always have some sort of content to talk about and guests to have on and what have you. So I'm definitely going to miss it for sure. And we'll definitely have a lot to talk about when I return.
Yeah.
And supposedly I'm supposed to have a return.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we already know what's going to happen, George. You're going to be out there on the open water with no internet, no phone. And they're going to drop Disney's going to drop the biggest news this week when you're on vacation.
Everything. They're going to drop where Pandora is going in DCA. They're going to drop where Monstropolis is going in Hollywood Studios. Iger's going to make the announcement of who is going to become the new CEO. And I'm not going to know any of this until I get off the ship.
And to wrap it in a bow, they're going to drop Westcott. It's going to be this news week to end all news weeks, and George is going to be out there in the open water not knowing a damn thing about it. Nah. But George, if you let everybody home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Sticky. There we go. Okay, let's dive into our topic at hand. This is courtesy of the one, the only Mr. Scott Gustin. A new Disney Villains live production is coming to Sunset Showcase at Disney's Hollywood Studios in the summer of 2025 to make way for the new show. Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy will close on October 7th. He goes on to continue here. Sunset Showcase will transform into the Magic Mirror, and the show will feature appearances by dozens of the most infamous evildoers, but not Brian Roberts of Comcast. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, look, you know what? I don't really think Brian is evil. I like to mess around with fiendish. Oh yeah, I really do. He's evil. Fiendish foes, Cruella de Vil, Captain Hook, and Maleficent, each breaking through the glass to take the stage in live production numbers. Mr. Gustin says here, just to be clear, October 7th will be the last day of operation for Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. The park is open 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. on October 7th. George, you brought this story to my attention, and you also brought an interesting point along with this story about Monstropolis. So if you want to go ahead and set the table, and we'll talk about it.
Absolutely. So when I saw Scott Gustin's tweet out, I saw this piece of concept art that's in front of us right now, and I didn't read any of the captions. I didn't read any of the articles or anything. I just went based on just what I was looking at, and immediately I thought, oh, Disney dropped the first attraction that's going to be in Villains Land. And it kind of gave off like this kind of dark ride vibe. And I thought, oh, so they are going to do a ride that's based off of all the Disney villains. And then I started looking into the captions and it said show. And I thought, oh, so there's going to be a show in Villains Land. And it said in Hollywood Studios. And I'm thinking, Hollywood Studios? Like, that just came out of left field. Like, I wasn't expecting that. But then what put the icing on the cake, so to speak, and you know, us here on OG 55, we do love cake.
Oh, we do. Hold on. You're not going to get away with that, George. You're not going to get away with that. You're not going to say cake, and I'm not going to. Cake! There we go. You may proceed.
Thank you. But this show is replacing Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. And I thought that's even more interesting because we were speculating and talking and did some videos on where the possibility that Monstropolis could go in Hollywood Studios. And a lot of people are speculating the Muppet Courtyard. Some are saying the animation courtyard. But then we had mentioned, hey, we can't let go of the Rock and Roller Coaster area because that was initially where Monstropolis was supposed to go 15, 20 years ago. Right. So I thought, you know what? We can't not count, you know, we can't count that out for sure. You know, we have to wait and see. But now this just solidified that this is not where Monstropolis is going to go because Lightning McQueen Racing Academy is right next door to Rock and Roller Coaster. So now this begs two questions. The first one is, where the hell is Monstropolis going? And I think now it's down to the two, either Muppets or Animation Courtyard. But also it begs the question, with them putting a villain show about the villains in particular, off the back of making an announcement of an all villains land in Magic Kingdom, are the villains making a bigger comeback presence in the parks than just beyond Big Thunder? Are they going to incorporate more villains throughout all the parks? And what does that mean for Rock and Roller Coaster?
Yeah, so I think our theory of Monstropolis taking over that Rock and Roller Coaster area, I think this news kills that theory. Yeah. It's dead. It's dead. I think that this means, because if you're going to put Monstropolis there, this racing academy would go too. You know what I'm saying? Right. So the fact that they're putting money into it shows you that it's staying 100%. So now, where are they putting it? Now it's between the Muppets area, which a lot of fans don't want that, or the Animation Courtyard. So we'll see what happens with it, or somewhere that we can't think of. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but it's tough, man. This takes Rock and Roller Coaster, that whole little area, off the table. And it kind of surprises me. I mean, Rock and Roller Coaster has a lot of technical issues. It's, Aerosmith is, look, they're a popular band, but they're not as relevant as they used to be. Let's be 100% honest. They're retiring. Wait,
who?
Aerosmith. Oh, yeah. Who are they? Who are they? Yeah, exactly. I don't know what they're going to do. I have no idea what they're going to do. Maybe they'll make it a BTS roller coaster and have Disney Plus sponsor it. I have no idea. But it's staying. It's staying. It's not going to become Monstropolis.
Could you see Rock and Roller Coaster being rethemed to something of the villains? Oh, what if they retheme it? Wait, now you just gave me an idea. It literally just popped into my head right now.
Okay.
Let me cook here. Follow me on this.
Sure.
Now, you had just mentioned BTS and have Disney Plus sponsor it.
Right. Okay. I was kind of joking, but I mean, because they have K-pop and K-drama. Okay.
They're putting in a villains show right next to Rock and Roller Coaster.
Right.
What franchise just released another movie? Descendants.
I mean, maybe, dude. And Descendants is a big property. I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but the kids love it. You know what I'm saying? What if that's what's going in there?
And it involves music. They could add music to all of the movies. Rise of Red is like a hot watch right now on the streaming service. They even incorporated the Descendants into the D23 showcase.
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Now, what's the age group for that franchise? Is it tweens, you
It's
think?
tweens into teens, like somewhere like not like late teens, like but I would say like early teenager, like 13, 14,
To like 17 is like the range, probably. Maybe 18 at the
maybe
most.
16.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not like,
It's
okay.
not too far fetched, but I think the thrill factor would get people to go on it
Well,
because we
that's
could have that same argument with
monster.
Aerosmith. It's
Well,
like kids don't know who Aerosmith is, but a thrill junkie who just happens to be a kid, they'll go on the roller coaster just because it's a roller coaster. So if they vice versa it, an adult can very well go on a Descendants roller coaster just because of the thrill factor. And it does have some kick-ass music. I do enjoy the soundtracks.
well, and here's the thing. You have a son.
Yes.
You have a son, and he's what, 15? If I'm not
He'll
mistaken?
be 15.
He'll
Yes.
be 15. And he loves roller coasters. So my whole point with asking the age group of like the demo for Descendants is like, is it old? I didn't know if it was like little kids or if it was like older, but you're kind of saying like junior high, high school, basically
Junior high, yeah, I'd say like
into
middle
high
school.
school.
Yeah.
Middle school. Okay. So that's an age group that I could see that age group, that demo going on a roller coaster. Now I haven't been on a rock and roller coaster. Is this like, do you think, being that you've been on it, is it too intense for that age group? Could you see like Josh and his friends wanting to go on this
I
thing?
think honestly it can kind of go either way. I think it just depends on one's own preference of how much their thrillometer is, so to speak. Knowing my son, he's just like me. He'll go on anything.
Well, your son went on Velocicoaster, so he's good to
Yeah.
go on a Descendants
Yeah.
coaster for sure.
But I'm trying to like put two and two together because if they're putting a villains show back there, Rockin' has to. And again, and you made the point up too, like Lightning McQueen Racing Academy had nothing to do with Rock and Roller Coaster.
They were totally different entities,
Totally
yeah.
different things. The only thing that kind of ties it into a little bit is it has to involve vehicles. Where like the whole thing with Rock and Roller Coaster is you're going into a super stretch limo and you're racing through LA to make the concert in time with some secret backstage passes from Aerosmith.
Yeah. Some secret special access.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
So it could very well that I could be reading into it too much, but I'm thinking in the long haul that Disney is going to want to do something about Rock and Roller Coaster regardless.
Right.
Could this show kind of give that hint that they are going to be moving away from Aerosmith and using a more popular Disney branded IP? So you have the classic main villains in the show, but then the roller coaster deals with their children.
Yeah, no, I could see it. I could absolutely see it. And that's kind of a very Hollywood Studios kind of franchise, to be honest. I could totally see that fitting in that park. And then I would see that kind of being like a gateway into them swapping out franchises in the future. Like, I don't think Descendants would be a 20-year plan, Right. So obviously I think that, as time goes on, maybe like in 5, 6, 7, 8 years, they put something else in there, and it's more of I don't want to say flex space because that sounds cheap, but I think it would be something where like they maybe they rotate musical bands or groups, or right now it's Descendants, but maybe down the road it's, I don't know, Taylor Swift. Yeah. Shout out to my Swifties.
Because even this stage building that's going to hold the villain show, it's like a pop-up kind of building. Like you can move stuff in and out very easily, so they can always, as they change things up, as you had mentioned, like with different music or different bands or groups and what have you, that, that could very well kind of tie into that Hollywood Studios kind of vibe. But I do find it very interesting how the show revolves around the magic mirror. And the magic mirror was the character that kind of set the stage for Josh D'Amaro to mention Villains Land. So it makes me wonder how much even a presence that the magic mirror is going to have.
It seems, I think that the audience reaction to the villains at the last D23 in 2022, right, was resounding. It blew the roof off. And I think it sent a big message to Disney. And we're starting to see that message come to fruition. And this is what it is. We're seeing a massive villain's land that looks really, really good, to be honest with you. Well, based on the art. You don't want to get mentally married to the art. You know, I always got to make that disclaimer. We're seeing now a villain's push in Hollywood studios. You know, it might even be a bigger villain's push if we get Descendants in Rock and Roller Coaster, like you were theorizing. They heard the fans, and villains are going to be a big deal. And that's why I'm saying, too, if they change DCA's theme to Disney Cinematic Adventure, don't be surprised if the Symbol Lot or something like that becomes a villain's land, because now they have full and total freedom to do whatever they don't have to even pretend it's California anymore. They can just like full bore, just like Moana, villains, Elsa, whatever they want to do. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. This is fascinating, dude.
Now, I will say in this piece of concept art, now again, it's just a piece of concept art, as you said, but it actually seems like the theater is kind of bigger in a sense. Like, I don't know if they just did that with the rendering to add more heads in the seats. But it definitely seems like they added more capacity to the theater.
Yeah, I've never been. I can't really speak on that. I'm not really sure.
I will say, though, I am glad that I will be able to experience Lightning McQueen Racing Academy one last time, because I'll actually be down there before October 7th. And I never gave it any time of day to even experience it. And Slimer was the one that took me in. And I actually enjoyed it. It's a cute little show. It definitely does its job. You know, you kind of beat the heat. You go in, you sit down, relax, cool down. But what more that you could do? And this
you cool down. You have a
cool
pop.
down.
You know.
Gotta cool down. Cool down downtown. You know, that's
downtown. You cool down. Go ahead.
But this also fits into the narrative of Hollywood studios, because you also have Fantasmic in that part, where the whole storyline of the narrative is Mickey is battling the Disney villains.
Yeah, Mickey versus villains, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's fascinating. It's crazy, because when you brought that point up to me, where like this completely destroys our theory of of Monstropolis going in that area, I was like, you're right, George. There's no way they're gonna do this show and then bulldoze it.
There was hope. There was hope, but just by one announcement today, it completely obliterated it.
Either they've decided now where they want Monstropolis, or it's between those two other areas.
They're narrowing it down. I think that's what they're doing. Down. Yeah. So let me ask you, not asking where you would want it to go. If you were Disney, if you were in the mind of Disney, where do you think that they would put now Monstropolis?
If I put my Burbank hat on, right, I wouldn't do the Muppets thing. I think that's a PR disaster for Disney. I really do. Look, and I'm not one of those people. I don't think you wrap these parks in bubble wrap. And, you know, I do believe you need to change, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think right now is a good time for that. It's kind of like the Ray movie. Like, I'm not opposed to a Ray movie. I love Daisy Ridley. I love the character. I think she's great. But, like, now is not the time for a Ray movie. Like, you need something that's going to, like, really just kick ass in theaters, like box office, and really deliver like your first thing out the gate in like what, 5 years now, 6 years.
Yeah.
Same with this. Like, it's just not a good time to, after the Rivers of America news, to come in now just weeks later and be like, and guess what? We're bulldozing Muppets too. It's very, like our friend Jay was saying, like it's very I think it was Jay, maybe it was Slimer, very tone deaf. You know, so I hope Disney has the common sense to be like, yes, that's not a good idea right now. Let's do it. Let's put it in the animation courtyard, because there's office buildings and stuff behind, right? Office space.
Correct. They
can push it into. That's the smart money. That's a smart move, because you're not replacing anything of value. You know what I'm saying? Fans would applaud it. You're adding capacity, because now you're going to put something more popular in than what was there before. It's a win-win all around. This Muppet Courtyard, with the history, with it being Jim Henson's last work and all that stuff, you have to tread very carefully. I think this is not a good time to do that. And I hope it's the animation courtyard. I really do. Or if there's another spot in the park that we're not aware of or privy to.
Still, I mean, I know it's never been mentioned, but I mean, I mentioned it on the last time we were talking about this, and I don't know. There's still the possibility with the Indiana Jones stunt show.
Well, and there's also another possibility. The Star Cruiser land. Couldn't they expand the park out that way?
Well, that's true too. I mean, they could add. I mean, that's just a waste of space back there as well.
You just
Now,
bulldoze it.
and I think too. Also, to your point with the Muppets, they're also working on a film of Jim Henson, I believe, called The Idea Man. And I
Right.
think on the back of that, they're not going to want to take
It's
out the last piece of Muppets in a Disney park.
no. If I was Disney, if I was advising Disney, like they don't give a fuck what I say, but like this is pretend. Like
Apparently, they do what I do when I mention about the red car trolley. So it's
yeah,
like,
I know. Yeah, this guy complains about getting hit, almost getting hit by the red car trolley, and like 3 days later, they're closing it down. They're like, "Oh shit, the Italiano is going to sue us," you know. But if I was advising Disney, what I would do, if you ever decide Disney to get rid of that Muppet area, I think Disney, if there's not a Jim Henson museum already, I don't think there is though. Disney should foot the bill for this, you know. Jim trusted Disney with his characters, with his and stuff. So I would fit the bill, and I would build a Jim Henson museum, maybe out here in California, because California bias. That's build a Jim Henson museum, and at that museum you play Muppet Vision 3D. You have a theater for that, and it lives on forever there. You know what I'm saying? And it's his last work. You can't just go in there and just bulldoze this and just call it a day, because it is his last work. So there is nostalgia, and there's a piece of him there still, so you have to like respect that. That's what I would do. Will they do that? I don't know. Maybe there's another way to do it correctly, and I'm open to hearing about it, but that's the way OG would do it.
Nice. So just to kind of sum it all up, what you're saying is don't be hating on the West Coast.
Yeah, don't be hating on the West Coast.
Yeah. Oh, so y'all ain't gonna let nobody disrespect the West Coast, huh?
You heard what Kendrick said. You heard what Kendrick said. But
really quick, I have one last question for you. The concept art of the two pieces for Monstropolis.
Right.
Now they said that was about like around the time of 2020. Was that both pieces of concept art, or was that just the one that looked like it was in the Muppets courtyard?
Oh. No, I think the one with the slide was newer, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to get back on that, but I think it was newer.
Because that's very telling. Because if the one that shows like the Solly slide that's more open, if that's the more updated one, and they just happen to add the older piece of concept art in with it, so they have more to show, then that would, I think, give me a much higher percentage that Muppets is staying.
Yeah, I hope Disney does the right thing. I'm not saying that Muppets should be there forever. That's an fandom. That's an unrealistic expectation. You cannot leave. There comes a point with Muppet Vision 3D that it becomes bad show because it's so outdated. And the longer we go on, the more bad show it's going to become. Right. Without completely altering it, but that defeats the purpose because it's Jim Henson's last work. So you don't want to go in there and change a bunch of stuff because it was his last thing, right? So you have to eventually get rid of it. It's just going to happen, but how you do it and when you do it matters. So if Disney can find a way to do it in a respectful way that makes people think, okay, look, we're evolving as a park, but they respected Jim Henson, they respected Muppet Vision, however they can do that is what I would suggest they do. So
I do agree, create a Jim Henson, museum, sort of like how they did with Walt Disney.
Right.
Even still create something like the great moments with the Muppets over at Magic Kingdom, to kind of take over the Hall of Presidents. And for the love of God, Disney, please, whatever you do, I want to see Monstropolis. I want to see that door coaster, but please do not add that Sully slide in, please.
I know. And a lot of people in that video were telling me like, "Oh, gee, but you don't have kids. You don't understand." I'm like, and maybe I don't. I don't have kids, but I got two little dogs, and they're basically kids, and I love them to death. No, but that's a fair point. When you have kids, it does change the equation. But I think you can do things for kids that doesn't feel like a McDonald's playland. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it has to be the extremes. I think you can do a kid-friendly area, and it doesn't have to look like it's, like I said, like a McDonald's playland slide, so there's, a little bit of middle ground there. So, but Italiano, thank you so much. You're almost out of here, bro. We only have a couple more days with the Italiano.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm treading waters. No pun intended.
Yeah, he's going out to the open waters. Open waters. But George, if you could let everybody home know where they could find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Thank you all so much for watching this episode of OG 55. Comment down below with everything that we talked about. What's on your mind? What do you think this means? Do you agree that this kind of kills our theory of Monstropolis going in that rock and roller coaster area? Maybe not. If it doesn't, also chime in. We'd love to hear from you. Where is this Monstropolis going to go? How should they handle the Muppets going forward? Obviously, that area can't stay the same forever. What does Disney do with that? We would love to hear from you. Thank you all so much for watching. Please consider becoming a member if you haven't already. There's exclusive content to members. We recently, actually just like an hour ago, recorded an amazing video of great conversation with Dave from Fresh Baked. That's a perfect example of content that members will have access to first. So that video goes up tonight, and it doesn't go. It's not available to the public until tomorrow morning. So that's the kind of thing that you get access to when you become a member. So if you can, please consider becoming a member. And thank you all so much for watching this episode of OG 55. And until the next time, Youngjin, take it away.
세상이 누구에게나 공평하게 추악해.